So a little bit maybe background on the Shrimp Society. Originally started in 2017 as a dinner series in South Miami. At the time I was building a crypto company, and like thinking back on it, I should have just invested everything into Bitcoin in 2017 and not built a crypto company, but it was good. And I wanted to just understand like tactically what other founders were doing and what buttons were they pressing, right? Like we were a 2-person startup, we were alone at a WeWork, had no idea what we were doing, we were young, and just wanted to know what CRM are you using, how do you talk to an investor, all of these things. And so we started a dinner series for that and kind of ran that for about a year and a half, put that on a shelf, and then really in January of this year, we really relaunched the Shrimp Society officially, publicly, as this whole innovation ecosystem. And it started here in Miami, this is our roots, this is our core, it's always gonna be what we're all about here. And when we think about kind of this innovation ecosystem, it's centered around early stage founders. So I thought at the time in Miami, I've been here for like 8 years, went to UM and been in the tech scene here, and it didn't seem like there was like a spot for the 2-person co-founding teams that were pre-seed and trying to figure it out and had no resources. They didn't have the Cafecito talks, didn't have the tax benefits, they didn't have the free office space. It was they were shrimp, right? That's where the name comes from. And so kind of wanted to bring everyone together to build a community around that. So in 2021, we did events and panels and built that community up, workshops, all these different things to help builders build. And then in December, well, I guess in September, that's when we met on the Nfc Journey. So that started in September, and now the Shrimp Society is global. We have 1,700 members in the Shrimp Society. We have some amazing artwork. Our NFTs, over 2,500 NFTs are out. I see some in the crowd. I love that. Awesome. But yeah, so in September, which is crazy to think about because that was, I don't know, what, 4 or 5 months ago? 5 months ago. We connected, and kind of like background on that is I had some friends from college that were really into NFTs. And they kept texting me and like, hey, you gotta do an NFT, you gotta do an NFT. And they were like, I remember they told me to buy the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and it was like minting, and I'm like, nah.
I told to buy too, and I didn't buy, so.
Yeah, same. I was super skeptical, so kind of my NFT journey came from a skeptical place. And then they kept talking about the power of a community, and that's really what makes specifically our NFT, like our type of NFT as a community NFT, as a membership NFT special. And we can get into all the different types of NFTs because there's all different kind of categories, and we can talk about all of that. But for us specifically, it's kind of this membership, right? We think of it as this almost like this country club, and instead of buying a membership, and paying that every month, you're owning a piece of it. And that was really important because we had this existing community, and we didn't want to say, hey, it's X amount of dollars to join the Shrimp Society and just Venmo me or whatever it is. We wanted to give our community something that would be an asset that they could hold and transfer and do all sorts of cool stuff with it. So that's kind of where the idea stemmed from, and then it started rolling from there. And then Matt got involved as our lead artist and just took it crazy. So I think maybe tell us a little bit about your NFT journey, because I know you kind of got thrown in the deep end too.
Okay, so I remember the first time I heard about NFT, I was at the wharf, right? And it was happy hour. And all my friends were already there for a few hours, so I had just gotten there. And my friend Burley, he's like, hey, there's this thing called NBA Top Shot. I was like, what's that? He's telling me about it, he's blabbering, and everyone's not listening. I'm like, wow, this is brilliant. Like, I need to get into this. That's when I got into NFTs. And then as time, he would always hit me up, yo, you should invest in this and this. And I'm new to Miami. I moved out here at the start of last year. So pretty much, hustler, like just trying to figure it out. Still in school at the time. And just trying to, figure out where I could make a little bit of money. And NFTs was one of those little side hustles that I was just dabbling in. But pretty much, brother would hit me up like, yo, we need to do a project. Like, you can create the art. We have the foundation, I got all the stuff, like, let's do it. So we're creating at the time this thing called King's Capital, right? And our idea was how do we create a community? How do we bring people in throughout all of Miami and just create something that's like a resource for everyone, a networking experience. And at the time, it was cool, but it really wasn't taking off, right? So then that's when Shrimp comes in, and I get introduced to the Shrimp Society, right? So at the time, I'm thinking, wow, this is awesome. We're starting with a community, and then I just got to create the art, and that's it. That's how we're going to roll. But pretty much, it was a roller coaster ride, I would say, because to an extent, starting with a community, I thought was going to be a lot easier. There was a lot of challenges to it because I'm catering to the needs of something that's already established, right? So with that journey, when they approached us, it's funny because at the time, this dude knew about NFTs, but he wasn't hip to the game. You know?
I was like the grandpa, yeah. I was.
Now this dude is like, NFTs, this, down, and I'm like, dude, I'm not even there yet. Hold on, like, that's next week, right? So it was cool, man. And then I'm finding out that everyone that I'm developing my network within Miami, and I'm working in music. I do architecture full time. I graduated and I started working at Raymond Jungles in the Grove. So I'm developing my network, but my friends, they're all tapping into the shrimp stuff, shrimp society, like get into tech. And I work in tech, I guess, in a way, right? I work with computers, I design stuff, but I don't really know tech like that. Now I kind of do, but I still don't really know tech like that. So it was cool. Like they approached me, hey Matt, can you design, 6,000 shrimps? I said, sure. Sign me up. Let's go. What do I gotta do, right? So I had no clue what I was getting myself into, and to be honest, like the past 5 months, I definitely took some years off my life, but it's been worth it. So the process, I guess, for people that just want to know, like from the art perspective, it was all new to me, right? All I had at the time was my razor blade laptop that I carry around with me. I can't even use a stencil on it, but I can use Illustrator and draw with my finger. So a little side note, all the shrimps were hand drawn with this finger.
Yeah.
Resources, I didn't have the bread to buy a new laptop, so I was like, you know what, this works for me. I've had it for like 2 years. We're gonna keep rocking with it. But yeah, it was cool. It was a lot of back and forth. I always like to draw by hand. I'm like I said, I do architecture, so a lot of my work is really just, catered to that. It's not really on the art side of stuff. And a lot of my art, I don't really put out in the world. It's like more personal to me. So this was my first time putting anything out, which is like super memorable and I'm super grateful for. And we got a mural in Wynwood. Like what? I don't know if you guys saw it.
Right around the corner.
So for the art, when they gave me this idea to design a shrimp, I thought it would be easy. Like, what's a shrimp? I'm looking at reference images and I'm putting in human shrimp. And these things are freaking me out. They look so crazy. I was like, what is going on, right? So it was cool. It was like something that I had to just create out of my head because I really didn't have a whole lot to look from, except for maybe SpongeBob and Larry the Lobster.
Yeah, they look like Larry the Lobster. Yeah.
Right? And he would tell you, I designed probably 60 little hand sketches.
Yeah.
I'm sending it out to them, taping them on my walls. I'm like, yo, this looks like this. And someone would be like, oh, that looks like a snail. I'm like, cool, how do I make it look like a shrimp? I don't know, what does a shrimp have? Doesn't really have facial features that. It has no cheekbones, what do I put in? You know what I mean?
The cheekbone was big. I remember that. When the cheekbone came in, that was big.
Right?
Big breakthrough.
Yeah, but the journey was just super cool. I mean, I don't know if you want to speak about that process on your end, but I know they were waiting on me to the last second, but I got it done.
Yeah, he got it done in the last hour. So on the other side of that story is the kind of other guys, Burley and Luke, were like, hey, we got this artist. He's a landscape architect and he's a creative director at a music agency. And I was like, perfect. Sounds great. He can make shrimp. And we started working on it. But yeah, the early sketches, they did have the snail. They had the eyes up there. Yep.
I love that one.
And we were kind of, getting feedback, just treating it like a startup, right? Getting feedback on it. Do you like this? No, that scares me. Do you like this? No, that's too whatever. And kind of asking people in the community and stuff like that. And I think the one advice I would have now for doing an NFT is finish the art before you set a date for the mint. So we created this big deadline of Art Basel, right? So we said we're going to mint on November 30th. and it was the start of Art Basel, and we had this mural being painted, and we had events, all this different stuff, and so the art had to be done. And we thought once we had the base model, right, like the body and kind of the figure, then it's all traits, which you can get into, right? So everything you see, the sunglasses, the hair, the skin color, everything, it's all these different traits. And so we thought that was going to take like 2 days. Yeah, you're like, oh, 2 days. And then we're like, I don't know, 4 weeks into it, and we're coming up on the deadline in a big way. And so then what happens is, all of these are individual like vector files, right?
Yeah,
explain that.
They're all vector files, pretty much. Everything at the end gets exported as a PNG, and then it goes into like a candy machine based on like. So we work backwards through this process, which now like I'm tackling our other projects.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, like I wish I knew.
Yeah, same,
right?
same.
Because you need a blueprint. You need to know what exactly you need to get done, or else you're always just doing stuff, right? So with us, it was like, I think it was like less than a month less, and we're like, we want females in there too. Like we need female NFTs, like half. Like what? We're a month away. Like what is that? Like I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's figure it out. But through this journey, man, what I really loved about this community is that I'm very to myself in a way, especially when it comes to my work. And I don't like to admit when I need help, and I have a hard time going and asking for help. It's like, vulnerability type of thing, but from the start, they were just like, man, if you need something, let me know. And everyone's hitting me up, yo, how can I help? Like, and that's the whole shrimp mentality. Like, you don't have to be the biggest man in the room. Like, as long as you're able to be there and you're able to talk and you're able to, say what you need, someone's gonna help you get there, right? So it took me like a month to accept that. At first I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, for sure. That's right. But as time came on, I was like, and the muralist that did our mural, he was the same way. He was a big inspiration in my life. He still is today, because he spoke a lot about that. This is a big dude, right? Big product dude. And you would think he's very confident, but he's the first to admit that, like, when it comes to art and stuff, he usually needs a lot of help. He doesn't know where to start. And with what I do on my daily basis, there's a process, right? So if I get a new project, I know exactly what I need to do, schematic design, we move on, construction documents, like everything is lined up. So if I'm ever feeling stuck, I can go and just like look at my blueprint and like, okay, I just need to focus on this and I'll get to the next step. But art sometimes, you don't really have a blueprint, you know what I mean? But there is a blueprint, there's Excel sheets, there is trades, there's everything that needs to get done, so.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we got serious about 2 weeks out of the NFT drop, is we kind of went from like, okay, we have all these things that we want to do. We want glasses, we want empanadas, all these things, but it was kind of floating around, right? So then we kind of had to get serious because there were over 400 traits in the Shrimp Society collection. So then we made this big Excel document, and basically what would happen is Matt would create the PNGs, they would go into this big file. Then the developers, right, there's a whole other side of this with the developers. The developers would then run the rarity rankings. So for example, holding an empanada might be like a 1% rarity, and that goes in with that trait. Then they run a script that creates all the shrimp. So honestly, the 4 shrimp that were like the marketing shrimp were all like completely handmade, and then we didn't see these shrimp until they were minting and coming out, because it all gets generated and then it goes into this thing on Solana called the candy machine, which is basically where it uploads there, and then you mint from there and you get a random shrimp, right? That process, we definitely cut it way too close. We had to push our mint back like 6 hours or something like that, from the morning to the afternoon. A little drama with that, of course. It was great. But that would definitely be my advice to anybody like looking to do a project, is finish the art and then set the date, because we created like such a high stress levels there with the events and everything. But it all worked out. Something I wanted to touch on was like team. You were mentioning the team. And so there's basically like 7 people that were core to this whole project. No one was like full-time on the shrimp. It was all just people that were working full-time in other things and jumping on this and all that. But in terms of like, if you're thinking about doing this, you know, we kind of had, I was like project manager, community manager, artist, obviously with Matt. We had the NFT guy, Burley, who's just deep in the NFT, like deep in NFT world, everything, just knew all about that. Then we had Luke, who's the business development guy, partnerships, everything there, making the events happen, kind of really like making the hype happen and all the excitement on the marketing side. Jay Mitch on the camera, all the content. That was huge to kind of our strategy was showing behind the scenes. So you can go on the Shrimp YouTube and see what Matt's talking about of all the shrimps taped up on his wall and stuff like that. So we wanted this to be very build in public, so you can go check that out on YouTube. Then we had another guy, Jake Richter, who was just like the NFT trader guy, right? So he was kind of talking through all the logistics of secondary trading and rarities and all this stuff that's kind of like that was just like, there's a lot of different demographics that are buying NFTs and they're into them for different reasons, right? And trading is one of them. So he kind of led that. And am I missing anybody? I think that's everybody, right?
I think that's everyone.
Yeah, and Dunk with the mural. But with that team, everybody was working, you know, totally asynchronously. It was just a text message and a Notion document, and it took us 3 months to do it all. But
one thing about just NFT projects in general is that I worked on many different types of projects when I was in school throughout the past year. But that sense of community is really hard to build. Like, in order to build a community, it's like building a friendship, you know what I mean? Like, you can be friendly with someone, but they're not your boys, you know? Like, but with this, like this project, I was skeptical at first, you know, the whole idea of just like, you know, community, everyone just hops on. Because I was already in the game. I was using NFTs for the profit that I was getting from it, right? And you're in those discords and everyone's just bots. Everyone's just spamming because everyone's trying to get whitelisted to get early access, right?
to flip.
But with ours, I was like, okay, maybe we don't have, you know, 10,000 members in here right now, but people are having real, genuine conversations throughout the entire globe on this platform that we just created. That's crazy, right? To me, that was super eye-opening. And then we have these stories that start to develop. So people that are living in Venezuela and now he was just living he was just on your couch.
Yeah.
Now he just got a place.
Yeah.
But now they're involved in shrimp and they're moving across the country to start working at a startup. And I'm like, this is beautiful because if I came in Miami in like January 1st, right? Like literally the start of last year. And you know, when you move, I moved from Boston area, so I knew two people, Luke, who joined the project, and my other friend who I worked for his label. That's it, that's all I knew. If I came here and I was able to tap into this whole tech world, which is moving 100 miles an hour, there's so many people with so many cool ideas, so many things that are happening every single day that I could tap in and also do some social stuff with, you know what I mean? Go out, network, do this and that. That to me was like, this is amazing. And then to hear like, you know, when people come up to me and they're like, hey, like you're part of Shrimp, this and that. I love it, man. I just got here like a month ago, and all my friends are within Shrimp. Like they move as a gang, like it looks like a little group. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like what? How did we do this? Like this sense of community. Because for me, like if I'm designing a public park, right? So many thought and so many variables go into it, and you can put all this money and infrastructure in, and no one uses it. You know, like it's just sitting there. It's nice, you can look at it, but no one's really using it because it doesn't have that value that people want to come together and use it as that space of building a community. With this, yeah, it's digital, but the world's kind of digital. Everyone's kind of like okay with staying inside nowadays, right? So it's cool that you're not just on social media now where on Instagram, you gotta put up a front because if you don't have the numbers, people aren't gonna take you serious. But on Discord, you could be like a 14-year-old kid in your mom's like house, you know, but you could be like a high up, you could be a king in there because of how involved you are and what you're putting forth, you know?
That's like, that reminds me of...
It's unreal to me, like that, this day and age, like that's beautiful.
That reminds me of Max, he's kind of the sixth man, Max. He's a kid, we've never met him before, but he runs like all of our Discord settings and all that stuff, and that's a perfect example of I think he's like 15. No, that was someone else, but no, Max, yeah, that was him.
How many members were in the Shrimp Society before?
About 100.
About
Yeah,
100, right?
yeah. Now it's. I think we're at like 17 or 18 unique holders, and now, yes, yeah, 1,700. And the plan with the existing shrimp is we're going to continue to mint that. So right now, like the candy machine's closed, right? Kind of the place to mint new shrimp. But as the community grows and expands, both from kind of our operational expansion and also people knowing about the project and wanting to join, especially after like Miami Hack Week and things like that, we're thinking about maybe opening it. But our goal is to have 6,305 people in the Shrimp Society, and everyone has one NFT. So we're going to continue to do that throughout the year. It's just kind of priorities, right? Because when you say, okay, if we're gonna do a big marketing campaign and push for another mint, we'd rather like lead with kind of community-led growth, which is something we're big on. We've never paid the influencers. We've never done that. We've never like done the bots because we want.
We did marketing by like having the mural and
Yeah.
stuff, but we didn't really run any type of ads.
Yeah.
It was all like word of mouth,
Yeah. Yeah. What's up?
So can you actually exchange the NFTs, and how can you potentially prevent people from just coming and speculating rather than being engaged and help you guys grow the community?
Yeah. You have like, there's kind of the shrimp was really interesting. You mentioned a little bit, but we had an existing community, right? We had 100 early stage founders. It's very hands-on. We called that the fellowship. Okay, so that's still happening right now. That's a closed application-based group of early stage founders, and there's kind of these criteria that are specific for that. So that was one group that a lot of them, they didn't know what an NFT is. They didn't care. Whatever, I need it. Great, I'll grab it. I want to stay in the shrimp. But then we had 5,000 people that read the newsletter and come to events and stuff like that. And that was kind of the group that we wanted to bring in officially to the Shrimp Society, right? And then you have another group that's just NFT people that are just, they don't know about the shrimp. They just look at the pure Twitter hype or whatever it is and say, I want to get in this project and I know nothing about it. And maybe if they're, some people would come and say, this is great, I want to stay. Some people would say like, oh, why isn't this happening? Or why isn't this, 10xing in a day and stuff like that? And kind of the community, the cool thing about the community is everyone is so on board with the mission and with the vision that just kind of like purged itself. I think purge is the right word, where people are just like, hey, that's not here. Like, this is a long-term play, and we were, honest about it from the beginning. We never said this was going to be a quick flip. We never said all this. We said this is a long-term play, and we're going to be here for 5-10 years, and this is the first of many memberships, and you get in there. So the people that wanted to flip, maybe they flipped and sold out so more people could get in. Maybe they're holding, but it's kind of like not our focus, and if they want to stay, they can stay. Yeah, what's up?
What I'll add to that is for the good of the group, I'm an original Shrimp Fellowship member.
OG.
As a first-time founder, born and raised here in Miami, I knew nothing about tech. I knew nobody. So what the advantage of the Shrimp Society was getting a group of people together on that same journey, right? On that same journey where now eventually I'm getting funded, I'm getting investments. So starting with community kind of goes back to those past two questions, which is different from other NFT projects. The community started first, and the NFTs came after. So eventually, more founders and more people in the tech community here or across the world will be NFT shrimp holders, I believe.
Yeah.
So the shrimp NFTs will grow organically, different than the quick kind of buy and flip that the other NFT projects you see. But I have two specific questions. So you said one of the things you would do is do the artwork first. Are there any other specific timeline? Because you guys know I'm doing an NFT project. Any other kind of cheat sheets that you would say would be a better way to do it than how you did it?
I would definitely have your milestones figured out, and not like, because you want to start with the art that you're going to then kind of like market, right, and say this is the project, this is the art, and that's why we had like those 5 kind of marketing shrimp. And start with that, but then maybe have milestones of like, we need to finish all the generative art, and then we're gonna announce this, and then kind of like have it milestone where we were like everything came together at once, which was just a lot to manage. So I would think of it more of like breaking it up in tiers of like, okay, let's, or it could be tiers, or it could be different people, but kind of that milestone approach of we need to hit these objectives and then we can go on to the next step.
It's kind of like when you wake up in the morning and if you don't have an agenda, you kind of have in your head everything you need to do.
Yeah.
And you probably will do it or you will do most of it, but it kind of feels nice to be able to check off everything and at the end of the day know that you actually completed everything, right? So it's kind of just like outlining, what are all the attributes that you do need or that you want, right? You can always add more, but you've got to meet that qualification. So I was talking to you like the other day about it, right? It's like write everything down, because as projects develop, people get excited. Yo, we should do this. Like, how about
million ideas,
yeah. A million ideas getting thrown at you, right? Especially when you have a team. All our team meetings was just like people throwing out ideas, which is just dope. It develops the project, but at the end of the day, you gotta have that roadmap that like, okay, if I hit this, we're good. Everything else is extra, right?
Yeah.
So
I think also that we left a lot of ideas on third base, because we had so many ideas, but it was all trying to come together in that last month. But then kind of the main thing, getting to the mint and some of the events and stuff like that was tough with Art Basel. But there were a lot of things that just got left on third base and never made it through the line. And if we were more organized, then I think they would have. And also it was tough too of kind of managing as me trying to manage the team. It's like, everyone's working full-time jobs, right? So you're communicating at like midnight. And you're like, hey, Matt, do we have this? And then you're talking to TJ, the developer, and they're like, okay, they gotta. So it's just tough kind of having this this team that was very asynchronous, but it's the only way we could do it, right? And now we're still operating like that. We just have better systems to do it. But yeah, it's something to think about, kind of your structure of how you're gonna do it. Cool. Yeah, what's up?
In terms of prioritizing, do you involve the community with some kind of a voting, whether how the project is going to proceed? Is there some kind of a governance component to it as well?
For sure. There's two things that we're trying to figure out right now. One is we're looking at the right kind of structure of kind of like a DAO structure where you can have a governance. Your NFT can be a governance token, where you can say, hey, if you have if you have 5 shrimp, then that's 5 votes, and we're gonna decide where the summit is and where anything, what color T-shirts, the merch are gonna be, all that different stuff. So that's coming. The challenge with that is we really want to mint all of the shrimp and get the full collection before we do that, because there's kind of some like technical issues of that, right? Because it's like, okay, your voting or your kind of like your voting impact is going to change as we continue to mint shrimp. So the advice we got was to mint that out, and then you're going to have all those kind of votes to share. The other thing that no promises that this is going to happen, but what I see as kind of like a full picture of the Shrimp Society is having the community truly invested in everyone's success, right? And right now that happens from people wanting other people to do well and making introductions and kind of this good faith. I think there's a way where we have your NFT as your membership card, right? That's how you get in the door. I think of like the Shrimp Society like a university, right? And you like that's your membership card. Then having some sort of utility token. We've been throwing around this idea of shells, where if you came to something like this, you would get 2 shells. If you came to a virtual event, you get shells. If you made a great introduction for somebody and their company got funded, you could get shells. And a way for us to kind of guide people into the right direction, and then you could redeem your shells for merch or something, probably in a closed loop because of like the regulation. But then thinking through, maybe some sort of security token offering or some sort of crowd fund where you could actually have the community as non-accredited investors, as everyday investors, invested in the literal stock. So the big challenge with all the DAOs and everything going on right now in this space is people are running into this big wall of, we have an NFT, it's shot up in price, everyone just 10x their money, we have a multi-million-dollar treasury, we're gonna start buying other NFTs, we're gonna create this investment vehicle. Well, that is a security, right? So once you start having something that's not a security, that has some sort of dividend or return or this investment impact, you're running into securities law. And especially with what we would want to do, we would want to say, hey, because the shrimp is all about early stage startups and kind of this innovation ecosystem, it's how can we get you invested in Brandon's startup, right? Even if it's just fractions, but as all 6,000 people are literally invested almost as angel investors in all the different companies. So to go from crypto DAO to private company stock is like a legal nightmare, but we're gonna try to figure it out because I think that would be the full vision. I don't know how long that's gonna take, but yeah, to answer your question, we're getting there. It's just a lot of red tape that I think a lot of people in the industry just kind of ignore and just like hype it up. We're gonna do this, and then they meet with the lawyers and they're like, "Oh, we're not doing that."
I got promised so many games that I'll never play.
Yeah.
My journey into this NFT space. Everyone wants to promise a game or some crazy stuff. That man, so many projects that I've held on to that weren't like these crazy communities. They're at zero right now. Some of them, unfortunately, I didn't sell. They're still just sitting there.
Yeah, for sure. We really think of it as like of a product, right? Like kind of on the team side, we think of the Shrimp Society, the community, as a product, and how can we improve the onboarding experience? What are the metrics that flow through the product? What are our health metrics? What are our KPIs? What are the different features, right? Like how many features can we manage? So we wanted to, like you're talking about projects that promise things and never deliver. We want to be the opposite. We want to be like, oh, something new just got addition. Like there's a job board coming out. Like, oh, new things just keep happening, and then just keep executing. I think a lot of other projects, not to hate on other projects, there's great projects out there, but in like the cash grab kind of NFT, let's sell 5,000 generative art, there's a lot of just like throw a game, throw a token, throw whatever up on the website and try to sell it out. And I don't know. I don't think that's going to make it when the market turns south. Yeah.
Did you mention the timeline for the rest of the names?
No, we haven't figured that out yet. I think we're probably looking at late March, at like the end of Q1 if we were going to do something. We might do a private mint offering for specifically Miami Hack Week as like a partnership. So something that we're doing right now is kind of turning to, we have the community that we wanted and everyone who wanted to jump on the boats in the boat and we're sailing. Now we're saying as the leaders of the boat, how can we find other groups that are great shrimp that we want in the community, kind of like recruiting. So we're working on something with 4Geeks Academy, with different coded academies, with different communities of founders, things like that. And we want to basically build these bridges. So with Miami Hack Week, for example, we're working on something where they can, participants of that can mint, because that's great shrimp, great talent that we want to bring in, but not like a big public thing, more of kind of like a private mint, which I think it's going to be cool. Hopefully it works out. We're in the process of figuring that out when it's coming up. So, but yeah, I think March is probably like the long bet of when the mint will open up again. Yep.
What would you say was the ratio between crypto people and people that were just part of the fellowship?
Yeah.
That you actually onboarded into crypto as part of
Yeah, we onboarded a lot of people into crypto, and specifically Solana. Like, I think Solana should call us and say, like, good job, because so many people, it was their first NFT, and getting into crypto for the first time is challenging. And once you're in crypto, pretty easy to move around and do all that stuff, but going from cash to crypto is super difficult, and we had this big community already. So it was a lot of kind of customer support and just hand holding and just being like, this is what you do, give me your phone, and we're gonna get you set up. But I feel like we did force, at least 500 people that, and I know that just because we did it, helped them, walked them through it on a phone call or in a Zoom or whatever it was, or they posted, this is, my first NFT. And so I think it was pretty cool for us to help people go from cash to crypto, and then specifically Solana, which I think is an awesome blockchain. And
you still say the majority, the 80% was about they were crypto people?
I would say, that's a good question. I don't know. I would maybe say 60-40. I would say maybe 60-40, 60% of people that already knew about the Shrimp Society, and maybe half of that was people that were new into crypto. So maybe like 30% new people to crypto, and then the other 30% were people that were in the Shrimp Society, but they were already had an NFT or had crypto, had Ethereum, and it was a pain to get to Solana or something like that. And then, yeah. You have another? Okay, cool. Yeah.
When you were choosing the protocol, right? Ethereum versus Solana, why did you choose Solana?
Gas. The gas fees.
Gas fees were awful at the time.
All shrimp, no gas. Yeah, we originally were gonna go on Ethereum, and that was the plan. And Brian and Luke, they were deep in the NFT space and the Bored Apes and all that good stuff, and so that was all Ethereum. But as we saw, we were talking about, we had, what we expected, 60% of this project was going to be people that already knew about the Shrimp Society that we were going to be bringing on, and then to go say, hey, like Brandon, for example, like, hey, you've been in the Shrimp Society, you've been following along, here's a Shrimp Society NFT, it's $200, plus you're going to have to pay $300 in gas. We were like, that doesn't make sense, right? Like, it just, we thought of it from kind of a customer experience perspective and said, what's the cheapest way, the easiest way for people to get on? And now, looking back on it, I am so happy as someone like managing the project right now, because we do, we'll give away some NFTs, we'll have promotions, we'll have to move things between different wallets and all that stuff. And I can't even imagine dealing with the gas fees on all that, because we're moving NFTs every day for different stuff, and we want people to use their NFT, right? That's another thing that we kind of said, hey, if we're going to be the first project where you use your NFT once a week, whether that's free coffee, whether that's coming to a virtual event, whether that's using a promo code on a e-commerce order, whatever it is, if we're going to be using that gas is going to add up to the point where it's not going to make sense. So it was definitely challenging. Also, our developers were Solana guys, and they definitely had a big influence in that. And they were going to do Ethereum, but they were like, we should do Solana. Yeah.
That was a deep conversation too. A lot of back and forth to make that switch happen.
Yeah, we got that on video too.
Really?
Yeah, we got some of those arguments on video. I think they're on YouTube. Other questions? Anything else? Anything is fair game. We can talk about any other NFTs. Anything you need. We'll hang out afterwards too. But yeah. Okay, so the question is, why do you believe in NFTs? Great question. I think the concept of owning something instead of renting it makes a lot of sense, right? When you look at and it's different for all the different NFT categories, right? The art one makes a ton of sense to me. It's digital art. If you're a digital artist, you should be able to buy and sell digital art, right? Some of the stuff that's being made digitally you could never make it with hand, right? It's incredible. So that makes a lot of sense to me, and I think there's going to be a huge wave of incredible artists that it's just a revolution kind of in what's going on there. So that one makes sense. For the generative NFT projects and looking at something like what we're doing, I think of that country club example or Soho House or something like that, right? Every year Soho House is $2,000 and you're renting that space and you don't have any input on what happens, and you're really just a customer, versus with the shrimp you're an owner, right? And you can't say that you're a shareholder because it's not an equity, right? It's not a security, but in a way you have a seat at the table, especially when we start doing the DAO voting and things like that, where if you put more into the community, it's going to show across it, because either intrinsically or on the market price or whatever it is, you feel that this is worth something more, and everybody around you does, because when you talk about the strength of the community, it's real. So something that I always bring up, because one of my best friends is the biggest buy bonds in the S&P 500, don't buy crypto, super risk averse, is we have I don't know, do you have like a friend group, a good friend group, a group chat? Yeah. How many people are in it?
I have different group chats with different amount of people, but let's say there's one that has 9.
9.
We always are very active.
Yep, exactly. And you probably get together a couple times a year, right? Yeah, of course. So it's what if someone said, hey, I want to buy your seat in your group chat, how much would you sell it for, right? How much is that worth to you? Now with NFTs, you can say that's an asset. You have an asset being in that group chat. That's your friends. That's your history. That's your culture. That's your community. And it's just for 9 people. But now expand that to 2,000, right? That's kind of the same idea here. And you have input on it just like you would in your group chat. So I think for membership NFTs and things like that, what we're doing, that's the biggest argument, is it has power there. And there's a huge challenge of managing this, right? Because we have we can see all of the wallet addresses that own shrimp, but we don't know who those people are. And we can see everybody who is in the Discord, and we can see everybody's email that is on the newsletter, right? Tying those things together is extremely hard, right? Especially in like a crypto world where some people want to be anonymous. It's like kind of more cool to not have the data, right, and stuff like that. But for a lot of the things that we want to do, it's kind of like we need to like tie those things together, right, and provide that membership experience. So I think when you look at having a way to token gate access something like this tonight, and then you can also, I guess, kind of create a whole economy within that, right? Because there is like a value to it. You can use tokens, you can do voting, all these different things, and it's all completely distributed, right? Like if we wanted to have a Zoom call and say, okay, 2,000 people, raise your hand if you want the t-shirts to be black, or if we should have the summit at Mardi Gras or Lollapalooza, this would be a nightmare, right? And you can use like a form and stuff like that, but it's hard to capture, hey, I have 10 shrimp and I've been in the community since day one. I have a Genesis Mint Pass, which doubles my impact or whatever it is, right? And so it's just a unique way to do that. Now, there's definitely the trading aspect of NFTs. Like I've lost money on every NFT that I've tried to flip and trade and stuff like that. So I don't think that's really sustainable. And I think that's probably gonna like have its dip at some point. But yeah, I think when you also look at other aspects of it, like metaverse and virtual land and all of these things, it's all gonna happen, you know, and we're so early, like everybody in this room is just like extremely early to all of this. I mean, you look at Budweiser, you look at, you know, Target, like all these big companies, Walmart, all of them getting into it, and it's top of mind because it's changing the paradigm between the company like owning the customer data and owning the customer versus now the customer is kind of in more control of ownership of what's going on.
Yeah, like on that group chat thing, that analogy, like you go to that group chat because you know what you're gonna get in there, but it's also a resource for you, right? It could be a social resource, it could be a financial resource, whatever it is. With these type projects, that's what it is, especially when you call yourself kind of like an incubator and you have a lot of tech startups that are joining, you know, and they're members and they're active. It's just a way, it's a flood of resources. You know, you can go on the internet and you can find stuff anywhere. You can Google pretty much anything nowadays, right? But what kind of like we're developing in a way is an all-in-one resource, kind of like what that group chat offers for you, right? So as this project grows, what I'm seeing just within the past, like, you know, within the past month was pretty much that. It's like, okay, we're starting with a community, but as this grows, as a tech startup, and I'm developing this, I might need help. And I can go to different places, but it's way better to go to a friend than go to a stranger, right? That's what that group chat offers. I'm way better to go in and text my friends, hey guys, I need to do this, I need help on this, how do I get there? Instead of just going to a random stranger and finding the answer. Yeah. So it's just like the circulation of resources is amazing to me. Like, you can really develop things on your own, pretty much. That's the mindset that I always had growing up. I like to do things on my own, develop things on my own. You make it in-house. That's my that's my housemaid right there, and the owner of Red Wave, which is a label that I work for. And we're always in-house, and people love the fact that we're in-house. You come to us, you want a music video, you want a graphic, you want an album cover, we got you, right? And people love that. They literally come to us because of that family community mindset, right? And in the tech space and in the business space, that's kind of not a thing until, well, about a year ago when NFTs hopped into the conversation, you know? Unless you're working for a big tech, you're not going to get the ins and outs of what's going on. They're not going to tell you what they're doing on a daily. They're not going to give you the resources for you to level up and join and, you know, grow within the field because they're hungry. They're established. They're doing them. They don't really need you as a small shrimp you know, to move them forward in a way. So that's how I see this whole, I love the whole group chat analogy.
Yeah. It's a good one. It's a good one. Other questions? Yeah, the way in the back. Woo! Love it. So, Yeah, so Magic Eden is the secondary marketplace. So when you mint a shrimp, you would do it from our website. That closed on December 23rd. Now the shrimp are available on secondary market. So if I wanted to, like I bought a shrimp today, and because it was a good price, and I was like, I'm gonna buy that shrimp off the floor. And now what I can do is list that on Magic Eden. I still own the shrimp. I'm just saying, hey, this is for sale. You can do it as an auction. You can do it as a buy now. And then someone else might say, oh, that shrimp has the Spark Rarity, and they just gave away NBA tickets for the Spark Rarity. I'm going to buy that shrimp and see what happens for the next Bennies. Or I like, the shrimp was at a good price, so I bought it, and things like that. So that's the whole secondary market where that all happens. And we went with them. We like their interface. There's a couple other ones on Solana. Like the big one that you hear about is OpenSea, right? That's for Ethereum. Another reason we went with Solana is because we wanted to ride the wave versus chasing an Ethereum wave of Bored Ape and Guttercat and all that stuff. We thought, let's be the best project on Solana because we believe in the tech, we believe in this community, the Solana community, things are happening really fast. And when Solana gets listed on OpenSea, then the shrimp will be available there. When Coinbase comes out and they come out with Solana in their marketplace, we'll be there, right? And kind of being ahead of the wave, so good question. There was another question? I thought I saw one. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, for sure. Such a good question. So the question is, is it worth it to get a shrimp if you don't live in Miami, and how does the shrimp, have a global presence? So that was a huge challenge, but it was the kind of logical next step of the Shrimp Society. And the challenge was, how do we deliver, coming back to like PMEs, right? Positive member experiences. How do we deliver positive member experiences when, in Miami, you're going to have a lot of in-person things, and in other places, you're going to have to do more virtual. So we thought through kind of our virtual strategy and what's our community cadence, right? Our cadence. And so we have like a Sunday dinner every Sunday, and that's kind of just everybody comes, we bring in a good speaker, and that's all virtual. You can tune in. We have Alpha Nights, which is on Wednesday. We have the Shrimp Tales podcast live on Tuesdays, and thinking through how can we, not to get too like technical on the PMEs and stuff like that, but coming to something like this and having a real in-person connection has like a high impact, right? If you're listening to this on YouTube later, probably a lower impact, right? Let's say right now it's 5 PMEs, and if you're listening to it on YouTube, it's 1 PME. So how can we create experiences where we bring everyone together for that and deliver kind of consistency across anybody, whether you're in India or Brazil or Miami? How can we always have something coming up that you can attend, but then have these focus points, right? So we think about it, every day we need interaction. Every week we need to meet with everybody and have like a roundtable. Every month we need a big event, and every quarter we need a summit where it's like, hey, this is it. This is the event that you need to come to, and we're moving cities. So in February we're going to Mardi Gras. We're going to we're going to New Orleans and doing a whole Mardi Gras. It's gonna be my first one too. I'm scared. I don't know what's gonna happen. We're gonna have a float, the whole 9 yards. It's gonna be nuts. So we're expanding on a chapter model where there's a New York chapter, there's a New Orleans chapter right now, and we want to basically say, hey, in any major city where there's 20 shrimp or more, we're gonna give you the resources. We're gonna find that leadership team there to really build that out, and that's what's going on in New Orleans, and like just last night in New York, they had a big meetup, like 10 people got dinner and stuff like that. So it's like, how can we deliver kind of that community cadence, but then focus that attention on specific moments? Cool. Other questions? Amazing. Well, we'll be hanging out up here. Thank you guys so much. This is awesome. Appreciate it. Awesome. Cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.